Rakovina, he'll be seeing the black and day-glow yellow trim of the Audi R8 in his mirrors. The team will be telling him. Now the question is, how long do you take? The Audi is clearly quicker than the Mercedes in current spec at the moment at this stage of the race. What do you tell your driver? Do you tell your driver to fight for the position or not waste time, not overstress the tyres, not overstress the car, and just let that Audi by because he's been consistently quicker than the Mercedes? Here they come out onto the start-finish straight to complete 287 laps completed now. The gap was 2.7 seconds, this time by
absolutely nothing. I just looked
1.
out the window.
6.
Yeah, looked out the window, and there's, well, blinking, you'll miss the gap, to be honest. It'll get even closer now as that Audi looks very strong on the brakes and into the first corner at Son Donato. So what we don't know is how old Alexander Rakovina's tyres are, but I would imagine he was given a brand new set of Hankooks at the start of this 28-lap stint. Sven Herberger has done 29 laps, so his tyres at the very least will be 1 lap older. The Audi seems to have worn pretty well during this stint, and from a fuel consumption point of view, we'd expect these GT3 cars to be able to do just over an hour. We're at 58 minutes for Herberger and 57 minutes for Rakovina, who's having to deal with some traffic, including the TCX SK Racing Ligier. There's also now a yellow flag further around the lap from these cars. At the next couple of corners, actually, it's at Corin Chow, so I can peer over to that part of the racetrack via the naked eye. There is not a car in the gravel trap, though, on
yellow
that high section.
Gone.
And the yellow flag's cleared, so it was a spin and continue quite possibly for one of the lower order cars, and that should mean it's a, relatively speaking, clear racetrack in front of them. They've still got traffic to deal with though, Joe.
Yeah, and it's how these drivers get through the traffic. Rakovina has been absolutely splendid through the slower class traffic. Coming towards the end of the lap now, Bacchini corner coming up, looming large. He's got a TC Mercedes right in the corner now, and this is an important part of the track. He'll want to get the slingshot off this corner and carry it all the way down that 1 kilometre straight. The Audi is the Audi close enough to pick up a tow. The gap was 1.6 seconds across the line. 288 laps completed. The gap is 1.3. We can see where the traffic has come into play. Heavy on the brakes now into turn 1 for both of these cars. The yellow Mercedes turns in first, then we've got the predominantly black liveried Audi. Not quite, I wouldn't say quite under the rear wing of the Mercedes yet, but certainly Sven Herberger can see that Mercedes, and no doubt Alexander Rakovina can see the Audi in his mirrors. They know they are racing. Second and third place up for grabs here with 1 hour and 25 minutes remaining, getting towards the important part of this race, i.e. towards the checkered flag. And still negotiating traffic. It's how these cars get through the traffic, and the slow traffic doing their best to not get involved with this battle. They're out of the Rebbiata 2, Johnny, and on towards the final sections of this track.
Yeah, Alex Rakovina had to force the issue a little bit with the Porsche Lorient Racing 992 Cup car. Did get ahead just in time to turn right at Audi Beata 2, and that meant that Sven Herberger had to play the patience game, so he might have lost a couple of tenths there. But what I'm looking forward to, not only this scrap, of course, the remainder of it, but the new drivers into these cars should be Bernd Schneider into 25, the Mercedes, and Pierre Caffer into the 18 Audi. And speaking of which, Pierre Caffer seen sitting in the garage with the helmet and hands device on, so we cannot be too far away from a pit stop for both of these cars. The Audi's going to come in now, in fact, although the Mercedes will stay out. Well, that's as I expected, because remember, Sven Herberger pitted a lap before the Mercedes last time as well, so this will bring to an end, I think, a 31-lap stint for Sven Herberger. It'll be 31 laps for Rakovina as well, but only after this lap that Alex has just started is completed.
Now then, with a lap of just under 2 minutes, 31 laps of fuel. That's with 123 minutes remaining.
Yep.
We are literally right on the cusp of that fuel window.
Well, I can tell you that the Audi managed 1 hour and 2 minutes and 36 seconds to be exact. They can probably, with some fuel save, get to 1 hour and 5, but you ain't going to get to 1 hour and 20. No. And by the time the car reappears, it will be, after a 3-4 minute stop, 1 hour and 20 minutes. And there's no way any of the GT3 cars will reach that distance.
You can't save that amount of fuel
by
lifting and coasting.
Unless there's about 2 code 60s, which would help them out.
Yeah, we need, or a very long code 60, which nobody really wants.
No.
We want to see a pure race to the flag here, don't we?
It would be superb if it stayed green, and then they will have a splash and dash, I reckon, for the top 3 cars. The Phoenix Audi, the Landgraf Mercedes, and the ST Racing car. Now, bear in mind, Samantha Tan should be able to go 2 further laps than Sven Herberger. She last pitted on lap 261, and we're now at 291. So this is going to be probably a 32-lap stint as well for the Canadian, maybe 33. She's not producing the same sort of lap times as Sven Herberger has been doing, so probably already in the fuel save mode for ST Racing. That little bit more mileage that you can buy at this stage of the race could be invaluable as we approach 3:30 this afternoon.
So we are expecting, Johnny, Alexander Rakovina to peel off and come into the pits in that Mercedes, aren't we?
Yes.
And Samantha Tan, who's been in the car 1 hour and 4 minutes now, still holding a 1-lap advantage over the other protagonists in this race. So Samantha Tan continues to lap in the same sort of area as the cars behind her, so it's the same amount of traffic that she's encountering. 155's there.
Let's also make the point that you're not missing a battle in the TCE series part of the race, certainly not for the race lead, because of the sheer dominance of BBR with their red and yellow Cupra Leon Competition. They have just been overtaken and for position actually by Nicola Michelon's RD Signs and the Chalet racing team.
Overall position, you mean?
For overall position, but remember, that is GT car actually lapping a TCE series car. So 2 races in 1 does not affect the position of 159. And Charia Nua still very much on course to produce that team's 2nd win of the year after only 2 races. As the driver change is now taking place at Phoenix Racing, so fuel's gone in for Sven Herberger. Alexander Krakovina, I think, has crossed the line again and not needed to come in. Or are we now? No, we're nearing the end of the 32nd lap. So let's see whether Alex peels off in the Manfilter Mercedes for what would be the penultimate time for fuel. Cannot still make it from here to the end of the race on a full tank, or at least on the fuel allocation that they will get under green flag.
If he can stretch this stint for what I think is kind of a stretch too far and get maybe another 10 minutes out of this car, then that's going to give that car just 1 more pit stop.
Yeah.
Whereas the Audi can't go 1 hour and 20 minutes.
That's right. So it's going to be nip and tuck, certainly for
the
nip and tuck for the Mercedes. I don't know about the BMW. If that can keep continuing around at a reduced pace right now, that could pay dividends in about an hour's time when these cars will need to pit again, the 18 and the 25. But will the number 1 car, Alexander Krakovina, did indeed go through without the need for fuel. So that's 32 laps now completed, and total time 1 hour and 5 minutes. As the lap time taking a ding because of that, is it opening up quite significantly for Krakovina? 201.9 is the average that he's managed. That's really not much slower than Sven Herberger on his previous stint. 201.951. as an average lap time for the last 32 laps. Through Biondetti goes the 25 car. Surely Alexander Krakowina will need to come into pit lane this time around. We'll get to Diana Binks just as soon as we've confirmed that. But the 25 car through Buccini corner. Does he stay to the middle of the track or does he edge towards pit lane? No, Krakowina's going to stay out on the racetrack at least one more time. This will be a 33-lap stint as Samantha Tan begins her 34th lap by staying out of the pit lane as well. Let's get to Diana in the pit lane.
I'm down here at the number 18 with Sven. You've just jumped out of the car, handed over to Pierre Caffer to take it to the flag, I assume. But firstly, how was your stint?
Stint was very enjoyable. We are very happy also with the car. The balance is quite good. Of course, now with the increasing temperatures, it's more slippery for everyone. So you have to household properly with your throttle impact. But overall, yeah, it's getting towards the end. You can feel that pressure everyone has. So the fights are getting more tricky. So yeah, but it's good. Good.
Are you running to the strategy that you sort of hoped you'd run to?
Well, where's the strategy of it in a 12 or 24-hour race? You have kind of an idea and you have kind of solutions for this or that case, but I think we had the one or the other point of luck with just code 60s coming in when we were towards the end of the track. So this went a bit on our side, but as I said at the end, right now I think we have the joker with Pierre, and let's see what's in there then.
Is it going to come down to now, managing the traffic, not getting involved in any situations, and just progressing?
Yeah, I mean, managing the traffic is always very important. On the one side, I said people they want to hammer. On the other side, you also feel that people are tired, so there's more mistakes on the track. And other than that, you if you want to go forward, you of course has to put a margin of risk in it, but I think we couldn't have anyone better than Jan-Pierre in it for this case, because he's like managing very well because of his tremendous amount of experience. So I think it'll be good.
Was it a satisfying performance from you this weekend?
I mean, yesterday, I didn't drive all winter, right? And then I trained, and yesterday, then at the qualifying, okay, you are first. Okay, let's see, right? And then I got the message, okay, P1, so I went in there, okay, jumping, and then the other two as well. What else? Can you want? Yeah.
Well, great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Sven Herberger chatting to Diana Binks. Yeah, a little bit pensive now. We've reached the really important part of Mugello 12 Hours for 2022, an hour and 15 minutes away. You didn't miss, by the way, a pit stop for either Alex Krakowina or Sam Tan during that interview. So I don't quite know how much they've got left in the tank. Surely just fumes for both cars. Bear in mind, both of these stints for both the Mercedes and the BMW did include a couple of laps of code 60, which was our last caution. And that's a while ago now. It was between 12 minutes past 1 and 18 minutes past 1, so another couple of minutes and that would have been an hour ago that the end of the previous code 60. 6 of those today, 9 yesterday, so amazingly up to 15 code 60s, which might very easily be a record at the Mugello 12 Hours. Car 25 with traffic to deal with. Do they choose this moment to get into the pits purely to get away from the traffic that Di was just chatting about?
Remains to be seen. Just coming around the final turn now. Will the 25 Mercedes peel off into the pits, or will he continue round for yet another lap? He continues round, Johnny, I can tell you. Just passing the Ligier.
They're trying to get to the 1 hour and 5 to go, clearly.
They absolutely are.
And you can subtract 4 minutes or so for the pit stop itself. So if they can make another 5 minutes...
How many laps has he done?
He will have. He's just started lap 36 now.
We've had code 60 period in this stint, though, haven't we?
Which it was 2 laps.
Tiny though, wasn't it?
So the code 60 amounted to 10 minutes or so within this stint, because you lap at 4.5, 5 minutes at 60 kph around this place. But 36 laps is mightily impressive. No sign of Samantha Tan coming in either yet as well. So clearly the target now I've sort of reassessed it a little bit. The target for both of the leading cars will be to get to 1 hour and 10 if they
I
can.
think so. That's 4 minutes away, Johnny, though. It's a big ask. It's 2 laps at least.
Well, yeah, but bear in mind that there's the time that it takes to actually do the pit stop as well.
Yeah,
so
true.
if they came in now, 4-minute pit stop, return to the racetrack, hour and 10 to finish, I think it's got to be, well, this lap or the next one for Hakkavina, and within the next 3 laps we will see Samantha Tan. No,
She's in.
Samantha Tan is in now.
She's in now.
So
yeah.
actually, the much more impressive fuel mileage, assuming the Mercedes from Manfilter gets to the end of this lap, has been from Hakkavina, because he pitted a lap before Samantha Tan and is managing to stay out for 36 laps, whereas Sam has only managed 35 laps in the ST Racing BMW.
Well, he's getting towards Puccini. The final turn here. Just got a bit of traffic ahead, and he hasn't gone and done anything desperate to get by the Porsche traffic ahead. Comes out of the final turn, comes across, uses all of the pit lane, and stays out a further lap, Johnny.
My word. Okay.
1 hour 12, just under 1 hour 13 on the clock remaining. And this is this the longest stint we've seen lap time wise, lappage wise? 36 laps.
Hakkavina actually managed a 40-lap stint earlier on, but there was quite a lot of Code 60 in that, I thought. 2 laps of Code 60, although I have to deal with a slightly inaccurate feed at times, so it's tricky to tell. But I mean, that's probably not a bad benchmark to go by. The 40 laps that Hakkavina did earlier on, which included a short period of Code 60. This stint has also included some caution, so maybe Landgraf are confident that they can get to 40 laps again, but they'll want to be getting Bernd Schneider in relatively soon, I would imagine. Now, Alex is in no danger of breaching the drive time limit for this individual stint, because he's not yet got to 1 hour and 15 minutes to being behind the wheel of the car. But for all of that to be done in one go, without stopping, 1 hour and 15 is much further than I'd expected for a GT3 car. Heads through Scarparia and Pelagio, and now Corin Chao corner, so about 3 laps away, 3 turns away from the end of this lap, I should say. And the Audi number 18 of Pierre Caffer is right behind him, but this is not for position. Because remember, the 18 car was approaching the Mercedes prior to the 18 car's pit stop. Very wisely indeed, Hakkavina allows him up the inside to gain 1 lap back, the lap back that he'd lost.
It usually costs you 2 laps, though, 2 laps per pit stop. So if you can get a lap back before the car you've overtaken stops, then you know you are gaining ground. So by getting by the Mercedes of Hakkavina, who does take the lead, by the way, Samantha Tan in the pits now in the number 1 BMW. Samantha Tan in the pits, and Hakkavina will be first on the road, having gained that lap back. There's Samantha Tan now out of fueling and onto the pit apron outside of the garage. We've got 1 hour and 10 minutes. Sam jumps from the car. In goes Whitmer. Whitmer now getting into the BMW. Fresh set of Hankook tyres. And this should see this car all the way to the finish. They've had a full quarter of fuel. So as Whitmer just doing up the belts now, the tyres are on, just waiting for the driver to be bolted in and the car off the jacks, and the car now released back into the race. So all eyes on that bright yellow Manfilter Mercedes now of Alexander Hakkavina as to when exactly he will be coming into the pits. There he is. We're inside of 1 hour 10 now. Pierre Caffer has just completed 294 laps. We forgot to mention the 85 CP Racing Mercedes has already been in the pits, and Joe Foster handing over the car to Charles Putman, who will probably see Charles potentially take it to the finish, or maybe hand that car back, because I think that time-wise that was a little bit of a stretch to see the CP car going all the way to the end.
1 minute and 10 seconds, the gap between Hakovina, he is now finally in the Mann-Filter Team Landgraf Mercedes, and Nick Whitmer, and Landgraf's car briefly off onto the grass there. I think that was Hakovina trying to get the car desperately slowed down in time for the 40 km/h speed limit that is the pit lane speed limit, and then there's 20 km/h that you need to get down to negotiate the fueling area. Let's hope that the Mercedes did dip its speed sufficiently, but there were definitely, well, 3 of the 4 wheels off on the grass there to the left of the pit lane entry road. And preparing himself is Martin Conrad to take the car to the finish, so it will not be Ben Schneider. It'll be Martin Conrad to the finish and to take over from Alexander Hakovina. Now, Nick Whitmer, I wonder what average lap time he has been able to produce after a fair bit of driving for Nick this morning. Remember, he started the number 1 car. 151.2 was an average lap time after a 37 lap stint earlier on. He was even quicker in the previous lap than that as well. Martin Conrad's general time in... So... yeah, Nick Whitmer 151.2 and a 150.5. Martin was at the wheel of the Mercedes for the start of the day when he managed a 151.3. So it's comparable, I have to say, between Nick Whitmer and Martin Conrad. I'm not sure whether the Mercedes is going to have enough up its sleeve here to take the fight to the BMW, which will retake the race lead, by the way. So the ST Racing BMW M4, after it made a stop a lap before the Mann-Filter Mercedes of Team Landgraf, back to the sharp end to continue to lead GT3 Pro-Am, whilst the Mercedes is in the fueling area and losing time all of the time to the number 1 BMW M4, which hurries its way down the hill through Casanova and Savelli corner. Pierre Caffer rejoining the race for Phoenix after its fuel and driver stop. They gave Pierre Caffer, I'm sure, brand new Hankook tyres as well, timed as being 3 minutes and 44 seconds behind Alexander Hakovina, but bear in mind that the 25 Mercedes is sitting stationary in the fueling area currently, so all that time being lost to this car, the number 18 Audi, heading through Savelli corner and climbing the hill now through the 2 Arrabbiatas. Turn 1, the more tricky, because turn 2, that uphill segment, actually helping with the turn-in point and arresting the speed very slightly. You then reach the crest just after the Arrabbiata and the car becomes unweighted briefly as you hit the brakes for Scarperia. So Scarperia turn number 10 is particularly tricky because of that. And now it will head through Corin Chow corner, and Pierre Caffer should be about to move into second position therefore, and ahead of the 25 Mercedes. That is the way I read it, with the Mercedes still being fueled in the quadrant at the start of the pit lane.
And it was important for Caffer to get by the Mercedes on the track before the Mercedes pitted. That was all important. It was track time. He was making ground. He was, taking meters out of the car. Here he comes across the line, past the pit entrance. So the big question marks now, Johnny, is who can get their cars to the finish? As Caffer moves into second place, there's still a lap down off the overall leader, Nick Whitmer, in the ST Racing BMW. That's a 1 minute 50.4 for Caffer. And guess what? Whitmer in the lead, 1 minute 50.4. So the Mann-Filter Mercedes finally making it to the pit box, where Alexander Hakovina will get out of the car. We said it was Martin Conrad who was ready to take over the car. We will see that car just coming to the completion of its pit stop now. Bit of dirt and pickup being cleared out of the front grille. And the car now moving off the pit apron and back out into the race. So now we've got just a pure under the flag now, I think. But there's a question mark over Pierre Caffer, isn't there? Can he make it to the finish? How many, how many laps has he been able to? What is the longest stint length is what I'm trying to say, Johnny, without getting too excited.
Well, if we stay green, the Audi, I don't know whether we've ever had a fully green Audi stint, so that's the complication. Bearing in mind Sven Herberger was only happy to do an hour and 2 minutes, but the defining factor there might well have been, let's get Pierre Caffer in the car as soon as possible to make sure that he's had the sufficient rest period and he doesn't breach the total amount of hours that he's allowed to be at the wheel of the car. But Caffer has already done 15 minutes because he took over at 11 minutes past 2. That's for the time that the stint started. So therefore, they're asking the Audi to do pretty much an hour and 20 to get to the finish. And bear in mind, you've got to factor in an extra lap as well. You never know where the overall GT Series race leader is in comparison to the finish line when the 12 hours are fully elapsed. So I think what they're not going to be doing is asking Pierre Caffer to massively fuel save. In fact, the reverse is true. They're saying, Pierre, drive as fast as you can. We will have to take the hit for fuel. And even though that Audi is now up to second position, I think that will prove to be a false spot because it will have to come in for a splash and dash before the close of the race. And there is not a hint of Pierre Caffer backing off here and going into fuel save mode. So that they've already accepted they're going to have to swallow the pill of a late pit stop for car number 18. At least that's how I read it. And whilst we continue to scratch our heads, burn some grey matter to try and get to the bottom of this, let's head to Diana Binks in the pits.
I'm with Samantha Tan, who's just dropped the car into the pit lane and driver swap for the final hour. We're nearly on the hour mark now, Samantha. Are you satisfied with your stint there?
Yes, it was very good. Again, kept it clean as we have all race and, you know, keeping it up top. And now Nick's in the car for the final hour. Hopefully bring it back P1.
It's a really strong, solid performance from the car.
Yes, I can't thank BMW Motorsport enough for their support, as well as my team for giving us such a competitive car this weekend. I mean, everybody's just done a phenomenal job, so we couldn't be happier.
It's tense moments now, isn't it, for this next hour? It's very close out there on track.
Yeah, a lot of anxiety, always the last hour. Everybody's just like biting their nails, just bringing the car home.
Thank you so much. You go and get a rest.
Just want to say hello to everybody in the YouTube chat. Thank you guys for tuning in and for all of your support.
Thank you, Sam.
Samantha Tan now handing the car over to Nick Whitmer, younger brother of Kuno, vastly experienced driver, Nick, in his own right, and very, very rapid indeed, having earlier on today, bearing in mind he started or restarted the race in car number 1 at 9 o'clock this morning with a stint that produced an average lap time of 150.5. He did 23 laps, but they then came in with a pit stop that I don't think they would ordinarily have done, but it was because of a code 60. He then did a further 37 laps with a really respectable average lap time of down in the low 151s. And actually Pierre Caffer is kind of producing that sort of pace right now as well. So Caffer, no real chance of whittling down a gap that is just slightly more than a lap for ST Racing. Plus, we reckon Phoenix Racing will need an extra stop before the checkered flag. So that should promote Martin Conrad, if not definitely into second place, into a good position to fight for second place, and should allow ST Racing, all things being equal, to push on for, an historic win. They are title and teams holders, but they achieved that in the GT4 category last year. Could only dream at that stage of taking an overall GT Series victory, but it's looking like a very strong position right now for the Canadian outfit, Joe.
Very much. 1 minute 50 was his previous lap, and that was a 1 minute 51.4. Pierre Caffer, 151.1, so he has caught up slightly, but there's a massively fast pace from Nick Whitmer. Giorgio Senegiotto is off the track in the 58 MP Racing Mercedes. He pulls back on, so no harm, no foul. He's back in the race. We haven't spoke for a little while about the 992 battle. That's still raging. There's only a lap between the leaders in that class, and that is it's still the Red Camel Jordan's Porsche. Luke Breukers, we saw him and his father speak with Di about being here. And they currently lead 292 laps completed. Still in second place is the Johan Kristoffersen HRT Performance. We're getting a few minutes away from needing to think about our Spirit of the Race award. We're about 15 minutes away before the decision will be made, and then about 30 minutes before the end of the race we'll be making our presentation. And I want to nominate my suggestion for everybody, Johnny.
Oh yeah,
and I
go
know
on.
it's going to be down to us to decide, but I want to nominate the Vortex team. The spirit of the 12 Hours of MUGELLO was kind of certainly met with the bringing along of 3 cars, not 1, not 2, but 3 cars, and then subsequently doing everything that was needed to keep those cars running. They've had accidents, they've had damage, they've had mechanical problems, but the spirit that is shown in that garage to get those 3 orange Vortex cars. We decided on Vortex rather than Vortices, didn't we? As the plural.
Either
or, whatever you fancy. So my nomination for Spirit of the Race award will be the Vortex team.
And I'll continue to think about that. Biandetti looks to be the scene of an incident. Now, it's the car that's caused all the gravel dust just escaping into Bercini corner, or when all of this dust clears, will that reveal another car? It will reveal another car, sideways, and not a nice place to be sitting at all. Biondetti corner, because not a lot of cars can see the big Bentley Continental GT3, which has had a moment at Biondetti corner. It's Bob Herbert at the wheel. I think he's sitting, although the Bentley's a British car, of course, I'm not sure whether he's sitting on the right or the left of that machine. I think it's the right, so it is driver door facing oncoming traffic. A horrible situation to be in. Of course, the marshals will be waving yellow flags. They are indeed, that's confirmed on our screen. But Bob struggling to get that Bentley fired back into life. He has done now. Tyre down on the front left corner. Now, whether that was cause or effect, it's very tricky to tell from this position, but it looked like a pretty high speed off there, Joe.
It did, and we've seen that at that section of the track. Was it a few years ago? We had an Audi absolutely demolished by coming to a halt through that section and then getting hit by traffic, and he was on the racing line. It's a very fast section, a left then a right S-bend, and Bob was right there where we didn't want him to be.
Well, delighted to see that the car is moving again, and at least he's got it to the right hand side of the circuit so he can limp it into the pits, and we can get down to Diana Binks, to the number 25 crew. Now, Di, I reckon although this car's running third, a very strong chance that it'll bag second place by the finish.
Alexander's just pitted, as you just said there, and joining me now. Now, it's tense moments, isn't it, for this final hour, but are you satisfied with your session?
Yeah, I'm very happy with my session, and especially the last hour is really tense. We're having slight gearbox problems, so that's going to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you have to manage that, don't you? So the pressure is on a little bit, because it's all to play for out there.
Of course, yeah, it only counts on the last corner, yeah, you know. And to finish first, you have to finish first, but let's see.
How have you enjoyed the race so far? I mean, it's had lots of different challenges for different teams, but you are in contention to push here.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. It's a fantastic race, and it's a little bit of mayhem out there, but good fun.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alexander.
You're welcome.
Tense time in the Manfilter Mercedes team as Martin Conrad, as we've heard there from Alexander, having to nurse that car home. Gearbox issues, to paddle shift, gear shift, of course. So it's all the driver can do is pull the gear, pull the paddle, and hopefully the gear will go in, and then pull the left paddle for the gearbox to change down the box. So we'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, at the front, both of the leading cars lapping in the 151s. Whitmer a lap ahead though, 303 laps completed for the BMW. The Phoenix Racing Audi in second place, 302 laps. 992 being led by the Red Camels team. Luke Broik is at the wheel of the 909. And then the GTX category in the fueling area at the moment for Jean-Francois Bruno in the HRT Porsche. Car 728 in for what will be its final fuel and pit stop. TCR and indeed the Touring Car Endurance Series, they have been metronomic this weekend. Tanat Sathian Thirukul in the 159, just having taken over that BBR Cooper Leon out onto the track after that pit stop. He leads TCR by 3 laps from the Noka Racing Team Volkswagen. Kęstutis Stasionis is now at the wheel of the 104. Third place in TCR is the Wolf Power Audi, and they are a further 3 laps back. So the TCR, very rarely we see that sort of gap, but the TCR is well spread out. So the TCE part of this race coming down to the TCR battle as ever, and it's really been the property of that BBR Cooper Leon team. They've really been metronomic. GT4 being led by the Team SEP Tangerine BMW M4. Catesby Jones at that car at the moment in 23rd overall. And then the GTX category, it's the GTX still being led by, we've mentioned them, Jean-Francois Bruno. It's the GT4 team that I'm looking for. Where are we? Yeah, there they are. Catesby Jones and the TC class with 2 cars in it, both with the Hofer Bonk team, currently being led by the number 332. That's Volker Pipemeyer in the BMW M2. And it's the Veluga team, just dropping behind the SK Racing Ligier. We thought that gap was unassailable. They had a 20 lap lead on the Ligier, and that's just dropped out of their possession. So the Veluga team, with that radiator problem, the radiator damage, bringing that car into the pits, the car remaining in the pits for the 205, and that's dropped them down to 2nd place in TCX. And that has just happened, Johnny. The Ligier just going to the head of that class field.
Yes, so very late on indeed. Just shows how much you need to be paying close attention to the various layers, the various categories within the 2 races that we're watching unfold. And SK Racing now ahead of Veluga, so Franck Leverne taking charge of that fight. And when you order all of the TCE cars together, that would put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th place for the Ligier JS2R, behind the TC leader, Volker Piepmeyer, as you've said, and 4 TCR runners, although it's a late fuel stop for Holmgard Motorsport. I say late, still 50-odd minutes to go, and we don't yet know how many, if at all, pit stops need to happen up ahead, but it will take an awfully big twist of results so far to bring Holmgard Motorsport a podium from this year's race in Italy. BBR, Noka Racing Team, Wolf Power Racing looking like your likely podium finishers, and probably in that order, although it's closer between Noka and Wolf Power. If they had a late drama for Noka Racing crew, that would definitely bring Wolf Power Racing into contention for a 2nd place finish. 116 then, with a new car to get their minds around. Wolf Power Racing far more experienced with the car that Noka have chosen, the Volkswagen Golf, of course, the GTI TCR sequential gearbox Noka Racing car. And Kęstutis Stasionis, the 104 driver, heading out of Bicune corner, running over a bit of tyre pickup, but thankfully not taking that with him on the hot, sticky Hankook rubber, as Tanot Setien Terracool reaches the bottom of the circuit at Arrabbiata 1, and 276 laps to the 282 laps completed for the Cupra Leon Competition, and you're talking 279 for Noka Racing Team. Another car very waywardly attacking the exit of Arrabbiata. Can't see it as the dust clears, but certainly that's a high-speed corner at the best of times, and it's very easy to have a moment on the exit and venture into that gravel trap, which is, I think, exactly what happened. But thankfully, speed was carried by the car in question, because as the dust cleared, nobody could be seen, Joe.
It's not really somewhere you want to experiment with going off, to be honest.
Just ask Lance Stroll about that, who had an absolute massive accident last year. And it's easily done as well, no question about that. The rather second-hand looking Utah Racing crew. The 72 Audi is heading now downhill towards Casanova as Nick Whitmer continues to lead the race by a clear lap over Pierre Caffa.
Yeah, and Caffa's got a comfortable gap now to Conrad in the Mercedes. 1 minute and 25 seconds to be precise. And lapping slightly quicker than Conrad. So Caffa very strong. Very strong in that second place. Charles Putman equally strong in that 4th spot, currently second in the GT3 AM class, and a little bit out of range, a lap down off the Mann-Filter Mercedes, who are indeed leading the GT3 AM class. 3rd overall, 1st in the GT3 AM class. 3rd in GT3 AM is the MP Racing Mercedes. Giorgio Cerniagiotto is at the wheel. He shared that car with the Costner family. Car 58 currently in 6th place. 992, still the property of Red Camels Jordan, and they've got a gap of 1 lap to Johan Kristoffersen, who seems to have been in that HRT Performance Porsche for pretty much the whole of this last 4 hours. I'm pretty sure it's not correct, but we're getting towards the presentation and nomination ideas for Spirit of the Race Award. I've mentioned mine, Johnny, being Vortex, just by dint of, keeping those 3 cars, bringing 3 cars here. That's definitely the spirit of this race and this race series, and then keeping those cars going. You got any ideas of where you're going with that?
Well, my suggestion is the brand new Bentley Continental, brand new to this championship at least, and Baz Coutin's effort, because they turned up with a great car. Unfortunately, just haven't had the good luck, and as proved in the last 20 minutes, a horrible moment at Biondetti chicane where the Continental had a moment in the hands of Bob Herbert. But I think that car will be great with a bit more running, but I just like the whole ethos at Baz Coutin Racing. They've said, we're not going to win this race, nor are we going to finish on the podium, but we do need to get to the finish purely because of a bit of public testing. So I'm going to go with car 6 and not necessarily award it to Baz, but to the team as a whole for never giving up.
Bob Herbert deserves something for bringing that car into this series as well.
Well, yeah, maybe give it to Bob then.
Yeah.
But that's only my recommendation.
Yes, of course. We're still waiting for your ideas to be poured in. I think Di might have an idea of who she wants to nominate. She's been down in the pits pretty much the whole of this race, and she will have had insight and seen firsthand the soap operas behind the garage doors.
So we've had a vote from Joe for Vortex, you've had a vote from me for Bentley, and Diana Binks is going to go with...
I am with Herbert Motorsport, the number 91 GT3. It seems like right from the very off they were up against it, not getting enough tools to run the car, borrowing them from other teams in the pit lane who were happy to let them have them, parts, set up. They were just really a little bit behind, but they just kept going with real vigilance and determination and calmness, and the whole team were working together to really make it happen. So every challenge that presented themselves to them, they just dealt with it and tried to keep that car on track as long as possible. So they would be my nomination. I mean, there's, as you say, lots of people up and down the pit lane working really hard, but they just seem to be beset with issues that they overcame.
Issues that we don't often see as well in that Herbert car and that Herbert team. They're usually metronomic at the front of this field, so hopefully they'll be back in full strength at Spa, and that's not that long away really. 3rd weekend of April for that event. Veluga still in the pits, Johnny, with that radiator problem. I'm not sure we're going to see that car back out.
Unlikely, I would think, but at least there's 4 weeks between now and that Spa round that you mentioned. Another split race in Belgium, the Ardennes Forest, and it being where it is in Europe, in its own little microcosm, so many people say. We're not necessarily guaranteed 12 hours of sunshine as we have had here in Italy. Far from it at Spa-Francorchamps, although we've had some beautiful weekends weather-wise with the 24H series in the past, but surely Spa will offer at least a sprinkling of rain at some stage during those 12 hours, again across 2 days. A reminder of the class leaders on our little graphic top right corner of the live stream, and if you've not found the live stream yet, radio-show.co.uk to find that with our audio perfectly synced with the visuals. Car number 1 leading outright in the GT series, but also the GT3 Pro-Am division. Car 25, which is the man filter Team Landgraf prepared Mercedes, driven at the moment by Martin Conrad. It leads GT3 AM and is third in the GT series. 71, being fifth in GT, leads the GT3 class. That's the Jutta Racing Audi R8 LMS. Then the 992 leaders are car 909 Red Camel Jordans.nl. Two teams with the 3 letters red beginning at least their names, but don't get Red Camel mixed up with Red Ant Racing, who lead the 992 AM division, car 903. Then HRT in charge of GTX, that's the 728 for Kerong Lee and Jean-Francois Bruno. 973 is the Ebby Motors crew running the older spec Porsche Cup car, which leads 991. And in GT4, it's the 421 car, which is the Team ACP Tangerine Associates machine. And 3 class leaders in the TCE series race. 159 are BBR of Thailand with their Cupra Leon. Leaders in TCX remain the 215 SK Racing Ligier JS2R, and the 332 BMW for Hoffer Racing by Bonk Motorsport are in charge of the TC division. TC within TCE, and separate podiums to overall podiums to happen come the checkered flag in a little over 42 minutes time. Sunshine well and truly out again here at Mugello. And the 903 car, driven by Ayrton Redon, under no immediate pressure from behind from Orchid Racing and fellow Red Ant car of Kurt Henson.
I wonder who's he's named after.
Prizes for guessing, Joe.
Obviously a motorsport-loving family, the Redons, bringing Red Ant Racing to the 24H series. It's a scary time of the race, this, Johnny. It's the time of the race where only bad things happen at this point. We've been racing for over 11 hours now, and the drivers, the teams will be listening on the pit wall, they'll be looking at the data, they'll be looking at the engine revs, the temperatures, listening for noises, because Nick Whitmer I should say, own a spinner. Talk about that, only bad things can happen. It's happened to the 72, the Jutta Racing Audi, off into the gravel, and that looks like front end damage, does it?
Yeah, I think it's more than a spin, Joe. I think Arimas Jablonskis has had an off-track moment and maybe dishevelled the tyre wall there as well at turn 5, which is the segment around Borgo San Lorenzo, and Matarassi the left-hander, Borgo the right-hander, and we're into a code 60. So any cars that were struggling for distance, namely the 18 Audi from Phoenix Racing, might be able to get home because of this. Can it get into fuel and back out again? Will they even need fuel from Pierre Caffer's point of view? Because we talked about Pierre and his breakneck speed ever since the latest pit stop for the number 18 car. He wouldn't be able to make the finish ordinarily. They will need a code 60, and quite a lengthy one actually as well. Well, this might just be the gift for Phoenix Racing in their hope to finish ahead of car 25, the Manfilter Team Landgraf Mercedes. The Audi in question, the Jutta Racing number 72, with Arimas Jablonskis at the wheel, getting the thumbs up to the marshals, and they are continuing with the instruction that there will be a recovery crane in attendance very, very shortly. Don't get confused, of course, that that's the number 2 car. It is not. It's just that the 7 that was there at the start of the race has been ripped from the race number, and Jablonskis is going to get out of the car and potentially not reach the finish here. It has probably done enough distance so far to still be classified as a finisher, because remember, the rule in 24H series racing is that you don't have to be running still come the checkered flag. You just need to have done 75% of the race distance compared to your class leader, and this car running in third in Pro-Am, but there are no further Pro-Am cars beyond this one, so still should be okay for a podium finish, all being well. The broomstick, in fact, being used to get rid of the gravel on the edge of the track at turn 5. And where is Pierre Caffer on the racetrack? Is he thinking about a late pit stop? What's the lead margin like back to Martin Conrad? There's a lap between them. They are both in the final sector now, Pierre Caffer and Martin Conrad. Question is, do you gamble by getting more fuel in and risk losing second position? Here we go. There's about 40 seconds between them, so I don't see that the 18 Phoenix Racing car could get in and get fueled and get back out again before Martin Conrad comes over the stripe. So they've got to hope, I think, those at Phoenix Racing, that this will be buying them enough fuel consumption to get to the finish. But remember, they were about 15 minutes short. And the longer the Code 60 continues, the better it will be for Phoenix Racing. It'd be great to get a word with Phoenix, actually, to see what they reckon, how long they need this Code 60 to stay out, to maintain, to make sure they get second position rather than the Conrad-driven Manfilter Landgraf Mercedes. Much sweeping being done. I'm impressed with how quickly the yellow crane has arrived on the scene. And it remains to be seen whether this car can continue, by the way, the Jutta car.
Yes, it does. We are not quite able to see the extent of the damage on the front of the car. Putman into the pits for fuel. So we did know that the CP car was going to be short on fuel. That's enabled, this Code 60's enabled Charles Putman to come into the pits under Code 60 conditions and not lose that much track time as much as he would have lost under green. So that's pretty much going to consolidate that 4th place overall, second in the GT3 AM category. There's a big question. Pierre Caffer's answered the question, JP. He's into the pits.
Well, he shouldn't need that much fuel. So now it's a straight fight. Of course, what they should have coming out of the Code 60 is a chance to actually do the overtake on the track should Martin Conrad get in front. So I think that's what Phoenix are thinking. Pierre's pace generally across the 2 days so far has proven to be better than Martin Conrad, and that's fantastic for you and I, Joe, and everybody else watching, because we get to see a straight fight on track, unless of course Phoenix are so efficient in their pit stop they actually get him out before Martin Conrad crosses the line. But they've only got, well, Conrad expected to cross the line in the next couple of minutes. So they got a bit longer than I thought, actually.
Well, yes, they had. Remember that Conrad had dropped off the lap.
Yes.
So he's got a lap to make up, and I'm not sure. All right, a full refueling situation, they would have lost 2 laps. Yes. So that would have definitely put the Phoenix Racing car behind the Mercedes. However, he only needs a splash and dash.
Well, the gap, albeit under Code 60, timed at 3 minutes and 48 seconds between the 18 Audi and the 25 Mercedes. But agreed, the fuel nozzle only has to be attached for a short amount of time. Would you do tyres if you were Phoenix right now to give Pierre Caffer the best position to potentially take the place back again from Martin Conrad? We're back to green, which is not ideal for Phoenix Racing. Where's Martin? He's somewhere in the middle sector in the 25 car, so we'll be heading down through the Arrabbiatas, Savelli and then Arrabbiata 1 and 2, and up the hill through Scarparia and Pelagio. There he goes into the 3rd sector. And if you and I peer out of our commentary booth, we'll probably be able to see him at Corin Chow corner. This is all down to who's going to finish 2nd and 3rd. I mean, the ideal situation for us is that Martin gets ahead on the racetrack and Pierre has to do it the hard way in overtaking the Mercedes in the closing stages. 35 minutes to go. Who'd have thought this? To decide 2nd and 3rd, the order that they will finish on the podium after nearly 11 and a half hours of racing. Martin Conrad behind the giant grandstand at Biondetti, now heading through Buccini corner and back onto the start-finish straight, and car 25 will surely take 2nd position now. Martin Conrad does not need fuel, as far as I am aware, because they did nearly a 40-lap stint, and over the line, he will go to take second.
The Audi's come in for tyres. The Audi is in for tyres. They've been listening to Johnny Palmer's advice on tyres, giving him a fresh set to have a real go at the Mercedes. So into second place has gone the Manfield Mercedes, and sat on its jacks is the Phoenix Racing Audi of Pierre Caffer. He's still there, Johnny. Nope, he's just gone. He's just gone beneath me, just as I stood up. Yeah.
Well,
nearly fell out the window there.
15.5 seconds is the gap, but I think it's a little more than that, because already reaching the end of Sector 1 is Martin Conrad. Will be getting the firm instruction. The team at Landgraf will be shouting in his ear saying, Martin, you're up to second, but Pierre Caffer is going to be closing in for Phoenix Racing. This is a great fight to be enjoying. BMW, Mercedes, Audi, first, second and third, but Caffer on an absolute tear now, and we're going to be able to see classic Pierre Caffer with Phoenix Racing strongly in contention for second place. Right, whilst we get mightily excited about that, for the first time ever, we're delighted to say that there is a brand new trophy that the 24H Series will be awarding for the first time here at Mugello, and this will be continuing on throughout the course of the season. And we can provide the big reveal. Diana Binks, and I'm sure Peter Fry won't be very far away from Creventic, the promotion itself. Diana Binks, a decision has been reached. And we'll get to Diana.
It has.
Sorry, Di, go ahead.
It has, Johnny. Sorry, we were having a small microphone problem, but we've now rectified that. So, yes, Spirit of the Race Award has been decided by the viewers and our listeners. So we're very excited to say that Peter Fry is here to give the trophy to the Vortex team for having 3 cars running during this weekend and getting through the race, although we're just at the final countdown now. So, Peter, if you would like to hand the trophy over.
You don't even have the checkered flag yet, and you already won a prize. This one is the Spirit of the Race Award. The viewers voted you, the Vortex team, because you bring 3 cars here and you keep running them to the end. So this one is for the whole Vortex team. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What does this mean to the team?
Yes, it's a good recompense because we have a very, very hard job this weekend. 3 cars, 2 crash, and we repair all the car, and all the car will finish the race. It's good for us.
You've certainly had a busy weekend. All of the team have been working constantly on the cars.
Yes, it's a very, very busy weekend. In Dubai we have 1 car, here 3 cars. Maybe in Spa 3 cars too. It's a very busy weekend.
Well done.
Thank you.
One of the cars actually only returning to the racetrack now behind the presentation that was happening.
I'm glad we decide on that. That decision was made by Johnny, myself and Di, and the look on that crew chief's face, he looks like he's been working for about a week at the coalface, doesn't he? They have never stopped at Vortex, and you know what, even before they turned away, I wanted to congratulate them for bringing 3 cars here. Truly is the spirit of the race from that Vortex team, and they've worked all 3 entries, the 701, the 702, the 703. They've been off the track, back on, they've had damage, they've had mechanical issues, and it's never ever deterred them to repair the car, wheel them back out and get them back on track and in the race. So I'm glad to see that it was well earned, and just the look on that crew chief's face looks like he's been grafted for a week. I do know that feeling.
Yeah, it will have been a late night last night, I'm sure, and even though this race did not run as a solid 12 hours, it will have felt like probably closer to a 24 or even 48 hour race because of the preparation work and then ongoing repair work for these little Vortex V8s that look fabulous, and they're getting more and more reliable, you know, bulletproof with every turn of the wheel. But having said that, another one is looking slow, I'm afraid to say. The single headlight illuminated from the car that is in 30th position, so this will be, and that's 30th position in the GT series. So it has to be the 701 for Lionel Amrouche, and Lionel turns right through the right-hander at Casanova there to reveal the race number. Unfortunately, this particular lap will be deleted as far as timekeeping is concerned because he shortcuts via that cut-through then, a little bit like what happens at the Nürburgring Nordschleife when you can deny going onto the Nordschleife for itself, and at the end of the Grand Prix lap you turn right and into the pits, and that's exactly, well, a similar thing to what Lionel Amrouche has done now to turn down the option of going through sectors 2 and 3. They will have learnt that shortcut like the back of their hand, the various drivers with Team Vortex this weekend, but at least they have a trophy to share now, the first ever awarding of the Spirit of the Race trophy. Gap between second and third, very crucial indeed.
Johnny.
Remember, this will determine in what order the cars finish on the podium. Fairly sure that it's going to be a victory for ST Racing, the dominance that they've had in the last couple of hours, but Manfilter under huge pressure now, particularly Martin Conrad from a chasing Pierre Caffer for Phoenix Racing. It's a gap of 23 seconds.
Okay, the overall leader, Nick Whitmer in the ST Racing BMW, and all of those people at ST Racing. A great race from them. They currently lead by 2 laps, and it was some absolutely great pit work. Little bit of luck involved when they were able to pit under green just as the code 60 came out, where everyone around them then had to then pit under code 60 conditions and not take a full fuel quarter. That really did come into play, and I did expect that to be a significant factor. I think that's the factor of the race for me. However, pull up your seats, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got Martin Conrad in the Manfilter Mercedes with the Pierre Caffer, yes, that Pierre Caffer in the number 18 Phoenix Racing Audi, chasing him down, and they are swapping lap times every lap. The gap is 24.7 seconds. Every lap I'll be keeping an eye on that gap and telling you what it is. And just to give you an idea, Conrad 151.8, Caffer 152.9. However, the previous lap it was the other way around and Caffer gained. So it's going to ebb and flow, but slowly and surely we're going to see if that Phoenix Racing Audi can catch that Manfilter Mercedes. It's going to be a cracking finish to this 12 hours of Mugello.
Pierre Caffer, needless to say, gold rated by the FIA, a former champion in so many things, but he has driven Audi LMP1s in the past, remember, and a couple of seasons in DTM as well. Long time American Le Mans Series competitor in GT2 Ferraris and other machinery as well, and so many times appearing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans too. So you wouldn't wish, or Phoenix wouldn't wish for anybody more experienced, more talented behind the wheel of their Audi to bring things to a close. Martin Conrad, on the other hand, he's been racing since 2006. Bronze rated, the Austrian driver, with lots of experience in Pro-Am division GT cars. But he, even though the gap is 21 and a bit seconds, will be feeling the pressure as if Pierre Caffer was mere inches away from that very large rear wing on the 25 car. The team, what will they be saying to him? Will they be giving him timing intervals at every possible opportunity, or will they be just leaving him to his own devices? Because that can often spook you a little bit. You know, you don't really want to know about the gaps all of the time, particularly if it's closing.
There's nothing you can do. You've got a driver like Pierre Caffer in the car. You know that car is going as fast as it possibly can. 153.2 for Conrad last time by. Pierre Caffer 150.1. Gap down to 21 seconds. 25 minutes to go.
And let's get quickly to Diana Binks with an update on the Utah Racing car. It ended up in the gravel in the early part of the lap and back with a team, I think, now, Di.
It is. It's just arrived in the pit lane on the back of the flat truck, so they're about to take the car off and wheel it into the garage. But obviously it's looking quite bashed, the car now, lots of scrapes and some light bodywork damage I can see. But yes, lots of gravel inside that car, so it's definitely been in the wars.
And highly unlikely that car will rejoin the race with only 25 minutes to go. But I reckon they've probably done enough of a distance to still be classified on the GT3 Pro-Am podium. We started with 3 cars within that class, 2 of which should be on the overall GT Series podium. Question is, where's Pierre Caffer going to be? On the bottom step of the podium or on the second step of the overall GT Series podium? We'll have to wait and see the remaining 25 minutes, but GT3 Pro-Am third place, Utah Racing Junior team And as I say, keeping our fingers crossed that enough of a distance has been completed by Arimas Jablonskis and the rest of his crew.
Gap is down again, this time by 19.3 seconds. The gap at the line between the Manfilter Mercedes and the Phoenix Racing Audi. 152.5 was the lap time from Conrad, 150.2. So Pierre Caffer taking chunks of time out of that gap while those two drivers battle it out for that second and third place overall. We'll just give you an update on the rest of the classes. The 992 class still with the Red Camels Jordan Porsche. 309 laps completed. I think they've got a couple of laps, just waiting for that to update, a couple of laps over the car in second place, which is the HRT Porsche of Johan Kristoffersen. They have been absolutely dominant in that 992 class. 992 AM, which is a separate class within the 992 class, well, that's Red Ant Racing. Ayrton Redon at the wheel of the 903, currently 10th overall. Amazing to get 3 of the 992 Cup cars, 3 of them in the top 10 overall. Quite a thing to see. Jean-Francois Bruno in the HRT Porsche, currently leading GTX. Jean-Francois into the pits for the final time, and that's a splash and dash. Or is it a driver change? Looks like a driver change. So he's handed that over to Caron Lee, who will finish that car. They've got a strong position in that GTX class, so they might as well. I think 2 laps. Yes, as the second of the GTX runners. In second, the RD signs Adrius Butkevicius in the 720. He's 18th overall. TCE being led. Well, they've led literally from the pole position. It's the 159 BBR car, the Cooper Leon. 294 laps completed, and that's a 4-lap gap to the second car in that TCE race.
Timing here by timeservice.nl is done to 3 decimal places. The gap between second and third that time through, exactly 16 seconds, 0.000 between Martin Conrad and Pierre Caffer. So he found a further 3 seconds, 3 and a bit seconds, in fact, on that last lap through did Pierre Caffer. And rapid flashing of the lights there, almost old Audi LMP1 style. One single press of the button would produce 10 flashes, I seem to remember, but Pierre Caffer's having to do that manually and warn the TCE series race leader Tanart Satyanterakool in the BBR Cupra Leon that Audi running in third at the moment, wanting to get by to lose as little time as possible. The number 1 BMW having to go perilously close to the grass there to avoid the SK Racing Ligier, and that was in the braking area for Buccini corner, so an indication of quite how hard Nick Whitmer is pushing as well, despite having a 1 and a bit laps advantage over Martin Conrad, and the rather threatened Martin Conrad for second spot. I don't really know what Manfilter and Team Landcraft could have done differently here, other than put Bernd Schneider in the car, but I think they probably planned from a long way further back that Bernd wouldn't be doing any more driving. He's probably burnt all his allocation, in fact. And Martin Conrad, who started on both occasions, yesterday and today, given the responsibility to bring that car to the finish as well. 13.3 is the new 16, distance.
And now it's 13.3, so that's just under 3 seconds a lap, Johnny. So he needs about 4 or 5 laps, when with 20 minutes to go, he's probably got about 10 laps to do that in, I would say. Maybe over 10 laps.
Yeah. A penny for Bernd Schneider and Alexander Krakowina's thoughts right now with, they're completely helpless in trying to hang on to this second place and valuable points this early on in a European Championship. The Mamba Mania coined Landcraft Mercedes that we've seen for many, many years in that paint scheme, almost like a Grello paint scheme, although Manthey Racing wouldn't have it that way because they paint their Porsches that colour, but the mixture of yellow and green for the Manfilter car and the sponsor and the paint job go perfectly hand in hand. Little bit of curb taken by Pierre Caffer, but not too much at Scarperia and Pelagio corner. Is he up again through the first 2 sectors? Yes, when you compare it to the first and second sectors for Martin Conrad, and a big chunk of time bought back, I'm sure, by the chasing German in the third and longest sector. About 50 odd seconds it takes, with that Audi still with some tank tape flapping from the front left corner, but it's not slowing it down, not by any stretch. Underneath the SK Racing Ligier it goes, and across the line. Let's get you a new gap, and then we'll get straight to Diana Binks in the pit lane for an update elsewhere. It was 13.3 seconds. Second to third is now down to 8.2 seconds. So he's found 5 seconds on one lap. Goodness me. Diana, just be aware that we might have to jump across you very quickly, because there'll be a straight fight for second and third, but probably not for a couple more laps, as the Bentley went very wide coming out of Puccini corner there as well. But Di, what have you got from the pits?
I've got Jean-Francois Renaud from the WRT Performance 728. Jean, we may have to jump back to the track action. It's hotting up for this last 20 minutes, but how was that session for you?
Hot. I guess with the time change, summer came early in Italy, but no, it's basically we were back in the lead. The Lamborghini's chasing us, and Kirong's in the car now. We're just managing the pace, managing the gap, and managing the tire. We've had 4 tire failures, which on this track, the left rear tire gets very, very loaded. And if you know, there's a couple corners where if you lose a tire there, you're in big, big trouble, because there's a wall waiting for you. So it's just been managing the pace, you know, and just trying to manage the gap. Beautiful track, awesome racing. So fingers crossed, you know, there's what, 2 hours left, I think. Yeah.
I think we've got about 20 minutes left.
Oh yeah, well it shows.
You've lost track.
I'm a little fried, yeah.
Okay, so Kirong's in the car now. He's going to bring it home across the checkered flag.
Exactly, yeah, so he's going to get all the glory, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, just managing the tire, managing the pace of the finish, and hopefully top step of the podium.
Well, let's wait and see. 20 minutes or so to go.
Thank you.
John Bruno, yeah, again, one of those drivers who desperate to see the checkered flag, although he thought it was 2 hours away. In fact, it's only 17 minutes away, and only 17 minutes to wait for a big trophy for winning the GTX category, and that will certainly help their points haul this early on in the season. They'll be back with their usual mount, a Lamborghini Huracan, next time out, or at least that's the plan at Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be a late pit stop for MP Racing's Mercedes. Giorgio Cernigiotto has brought the 58 car in from 6th position, running 3rd in GT3 AM as well.
That's a problem.
Yes.
That's a problem for that MP Racing Mercedes. That's going to allow, as that car is in, it's not scheduled, they're not changing tyres, there's a problem under the right-hand wheel arch. So that's going to allow the Kessel Racing Ferrari number 8, Alessandro Cutrera, at the wheel of the number 8. He's bearing down on that static Mercedes, and that'll be a change for 6th place overall. Not really a change of class position, though.
No, true, and you would have expected perhaps before we got going yesterday that the Kessel Racing Ferrari would be able to outposition the MP Racing Mercedes, but Kessel again, a team that have been really going through some strife over the last 24 hours all told, but the last 11 hours and 45 minutes total race time. That's the gap between Martin Conrad and Pierre Caffer. They were absolutely together heading into the Colin Chow right-hander. Conrad exiting the corner as Pierre Caffer came into the braking zone. And once again, Pierre Caffer, now that he can lock the crosshair visually on the back of the Mann-Filter Mercedes, that will give him even more of a boost in the arm, as if he needed it. Pierre Caffer down this long straight, 5 seconds has virtually become 2, I reckon, as the Audi whips across the start-finish line. It's 1.9 seconds between Conrad and Caffer.
You don't really need a stopwatch anymore. Pierre Caffer can see the bright yellow Mercedes up ahead of him into turn 1, out of turn 1. It's very, very steep uphill climb there. We've got a little bit of traffic that appears to be ahead of Martin Conrad, and that will definitely be a factor, because that's the number 8 Kessel Racing Ferrari. That is no slouch and is on a par performance-wise with the Mercedes. So it's not just a case of powering past that Ferrari ahead of him. And indeed, it's causing him time, it's costing him time down towards Casanova through the right-hander, and now we've got Caffer right under the rear wing of the Mercedes. There's going to be a move here out of the left-hander towards the Arrabbiata 1, and it's the Audi right underneath the rear wing. The Ferrari gets out of the way, but we've still got a car. It's the Lamborghini ahead of him. So the Lamborghini, I'm not sure if you can see that bright yellow Mercedes in the mirrors. Kaffer moves to the right. The Mercedes cuts him off into the downhill right-hander, followed by the left. It's then a matter of still that Lamborghini tripping up the Mercedes. He just needs to blend off the throttle. There's the move, Johnny.
Yeah, late on the brakes, Pierre Kaffer. Martin Conrad was deciding which side of the Cholet Lamborghini to go, and that's all that Kaffer needed as an invitation. He wasn't going to wait at all, and the gap was left, unfortunately, for Martin Conrad, who's really annoyed with himself. I can tell from the body language of the Mercedes, and wants to come fighting back. He's going to brake as late as he can, but the Lamborghini's in the way. The Kessel Racing trying to get up the inside in the Ferrari too, and Pierre Kaffer is just going to wave goodbye, I would imagine, to the Mercedes, although we do know that the AMGs have been carrying great straight line speed all weekend. Unfortunately for Martin Conrad, he's let Kaffer get just that bit too far in front.
Yeah, Kaffer used the traffic. The Lamborghini completely unaware that he had the overall leaders bearing down on him, and it was maybe just 2 or 3 corners a bit more than was needed there to hold those drivers up. I mean, all the way through from Casanova through the Arrabbiatas and into the final stages of the lap before the Lamborghini was able to get past, or Pierre Kaffer was able to get past the Lamborghini, I should say. This has enabled Kaffer, though. He's been consistently quicker than the Mercedes ahead of him for the last few laps. So now, continuing that progress with, 12.5 minutes remaining, we should see that Phoenix Audi just extend that gap between Martin Conrad and consolidate what will now be a second place overall podium position.
So a change of podium order, overall GT Series order inside the final 15 minutes of a split 12-hour race. And as we were suggesting during qualifying yesterday, there was definitely a very strong hint that Creventic and those involved in the GT3 part of this race had got the balance of performance near perfectly assigned. Yes, you might argue that the BMW looks a little too strong for this Audi and Mercedes combination, but I think that's just been good pit stop strategy, actually, including a strange old moment yesterday for ST Racing when Samantha Tan was called into the pit lane and then at the last possible moment told not to go for fuel and actually effectively abort the pit stop. But I mean, you look at it now, nearly 24 hours on from that, it looks a great decision because Nick Whitmer is leading by 2.5 laps.
It was that bit of luck, wasn't it, when they came into the pits under green, just as it went code 60. Everyone behind them entered and it went purple. And that gave them an extended fuel window where people behind them and in the frame competing with had to then take that extra stop. They've had, for instance, Pierre Kaffer has pitted 10 times. Nick Whitmer 6 times. So that's a significant difference.
Yeah. And yes, that doesn't take into account the stops that happened yesterday, of course, because the timing system is reset completely overnight. But again, not many stops at all to the number one, apart from that aborted stop. The other stops that were made were completely on the money, and ST Racing, well, continuing their race management that they performed so well in last year in their GT4 BMW on into GT3 Pro-Am, which is the category they're running in, and they are on course to be a class leader within their subcategory, but more crucially, an outright GT3 winner for the GT Series. In the TCE Series race, TCR cars first, second, third and fourth, still the BBR Cupra Leon Competition for Tanart Satyen Terakul in the 159, ahead of the Volkswagen Golf Anoka Racing Team of Lithuania and Kestutis Stasionis bringing that car to the finish. The Audi RS3 LMS TCR of Wolf Power Racing and Jasmine Preissig installed as the final driver in that combination to bring it to the flag. Holmgard Motorsport, it's not gone completely to plan in the last few hours, including the damage suffered in the front left corner with a inner wheel arch breaking free from the car, and they've also had to tame a rather misbehaving splitter as well with what looked like a couple of belt braces. Actually, no, something more substantial than that, but the 102 car has continued on in fourth place. Jonas Holmgard should be staying at the wheel, no doubt will be till the completion of today's race. SK Racing running in the TCX division, and a place change there. Giorgio Sernagiotto up the inside of Alessandro Cutrera. That is for position as well. These cars are laps away from the overall leaders in GT Series, but MP Racing and Kessel Racing, of course, MP made a late stop, and we think that was, well, definitely tyre related, whether it was a full puncture.
I think it was brake related, I think.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they were looking at the tyre as well, because it just seemed to be blistering a little bit, but I don't think it was a full puncture, and maybe brakes as well. So a two-pronged issue there. But at least MP Racing have got one of those places back that they lost because of that late unplanned pit stop, and Alessandro Cutrera could not hold back Giorgio Sernagiotto, the bronze-rated Italian, car number 58.
So a 2-lap gap at the front, Nick Whitmer and everyone at ST Racing really have played a very tactical race here at Mugello. They planned their strategy, and then it was the reaction that you've just described there, Johnny, the reaction to the fact that the fueling area was completely chocker, and there was a queue. Now the decision right there would have been to join the queue and wait to refuel, or continue round and risk it, and that was the decision. Maybe a race winning decision there from that team. And it was the quick acting on the pit wall. What have I always said? Endurance races are won on the pit wall. Yep. And that was a decision came from the pit wall. Samantha Tan was told to continue round, and commendable really from everybody there that the reaction to that was to do exactly as you were told and continue round.
Well, if she'd gone into a quiet fueling area, she would have lost a lap in that situation. If she'd gone into a very busy fueling area where there was nowhere to park up and get refueled, that could have been easily 2 laps lost. And it's looking like the ST Racing BMW is only going to win this by 2 and a bit laps. So very easily indeed. We could have been looking at a Pierre Caffer Phoenix Racing Audi R8 victory, but very late drama indeed for Kessel Racing and the number 8 car, which is now off the road. And that, I think, is in the early sector of the lap, because Cutrera, yes, has completed the 3rd sector. He started his 319th lap, and either on the exit of Poggio Secco or Borgo San Lorenzo, the car has found its way to what is quite a shallow gravel trap there in terms of the distance between the edge of the racetrack and the wall, and we will go into a late code 60 here, which runs the risk, of locking all of the positions into place. Can the car be recovered in the 6.5 minutes that remain?
That's a big ask, isn't it? I mean, they have been the marshals and the recovery crews here at Mugello have been absolutely majestic in how they've gone about it. They have just been so efficient, and have, matter of a moment's work of getting the snatch tractor out of these cars, fully lifting them out of the gravel. And it is gravel here at Mugello. And that Ferrari will need to be hoisted and dragged back onto the track. Did we see where that was? Turn 3. So that's Poggio Secco on the outside of the right-hander. We could well end this race, Johnny, under code 60. 5.5 minutes remaining. The whole field go into slow motion, it seems. At 60 kilometres an hour, it feels like you're actually at walking pace after travelling at the speeds these GT cars and the like have been. It's not ideally the best way to finish the race, and certainly not for the Kessel Racing Ferrari team.
I just wonder whether, having been overtaken by Giorgio Sernagiotto, Alessandro Cutrera was thinking, no, you don't. I want to try and get you back in front again to put that Ferrari in front of the Mercedes. And he's just pushed a little bit too hard. We've seen a few cars squirming and sliding out of that relatively slow chicane. Well, the approach into Luco is slow. Poggio Secco, the exit, you're really trying to hammer the throttle to get as good a run down that short straight between turns 3 and 4 as possible, because a good sector 1 time, the shortest sector of the lap, can prove pivotal to a good lap time. There was only, I should say, as the Kessel Racing car left the track, a second between Serna Giotto and Cutrera, and that was by far not decided. It is now, though, and the recovery vehicle has been ordered. It's on its way, but I think where it's positioned on the track, which is the outside of the circuit, rather difficult to get to right now.
Yeah, the big yellow snatch tractor. We've got some big red snatch tractors out there, but this one's a yellow one that's been deployed for this particular job. The marshal's just going out of the drive. The driver's got his door open, and Alessandro Cutrera will be very red-faced when he gets back to the pit garage after this. 3 minutes 40 seconds on the clock. So, like you say, Johnny, we might be seeing the checkered flag come out under code 60 conditions. However, the snatch tractor is there, and it will be the... Even though they're very quick, it's not exactly the work of a moment. TCE leader continues to circulate, and the TCR class are pretty much together on the road, 19th, 20th and 21st place, but a gap of 3 laps for the BBR team. Tanat, Sathi and Thirikal is at the wheel of the 159, and it really has been a textbook race from the BBR team. It's also been a text race for those people there. The ST Racing team, Bryson Morris, Samantha Tan, they are the drivers that are awaiting Nick Whitmer, who will finish the car in slow motion at the moment. 2.5 minutes remaining, and I can't see us going green now, Johnny.
I think that's a big ask. The BMW should reach the end of this lap with the clock not yet at 0, but that would mean we'd have to go racing at the end of this lap. And, well, the tractors, the New Holland tractor's now reversing. Oh, because the Ferrari's back on track.
Ferrari's back on. He's just pulled him out of the gravel.
Well, yes, literally towed him out of the gravel. Didn't need to lift him anywhere. And Cutrera, although we'll be spilling an awful lot of gravel onto the track now behind him, and one of the 3 vortexes either coming in or going back out again. The 701 just reaching its garages. I think that's returning to the racetrack, actually, having been fuelled.
Of course it is. It's a vortex. That's why it won the spirit of the race.
Precisely. We are going to go green, Joe.
Yeah.
We are going to go green. So we should, fingers crossed, end the race with green flag conditions. That will mean for Nick Whitmer that he'll have to go... Let's go round one more time as the Orchid Racing car, Porsche Cup machine, the 917, skates across the gravel as it gets back up to speed. And that was down at Casanova corner. And Savelli very nearly bringing out another code 60 before he had a chance to finish under green. Thankfully, he has escaped, though. 917 being driven by... Now then, let's just have a little look. It's Laurent Mishbash running in 11th position in second place in 992 AM.
It's easy to do that, you know, because you're travelling at 60 kilometres an hour towards Casanova. It's a sweeping right-hander. And when you go to accelerate, you're not quite sure what your entry speed is.
Yeah.
And it was clearly too quick there, accelerating from 60 kilometres an hour up to racing speed. The leaders have gone through, Johnny.
And a whole load of Porsche Cup cars the BMW suddenly finds itself amongst as Nick Whitmer, how long have we got on the clock? 45 seconds. So this is confirmed as the last lap, because as quick as Nick Whitmer has been for the last 2 days, not even he can do a lap more quickly than 45 seconds. So he threads his way through Luco and Poggio Secco, with Materassi and Borgo San Lorenzo corners to come next. And crucially for him, in this single racing line segment of the racetrack, he got ahead of not 1, not 2, but 3 Porsche Cup cars. So there is, relatively speaking, a clear road in front now of the Canadian.
Great run from the ST Racing team. He's not hanging about, though. Nick Whitmer still using all of that car's performance and a little bit of rotation from the rear end there, just catching the driver's attention, but fully in control. He's out of Arrabbiata 2 for the final time here this weekend, and just coming to the final stages of the lap now towards Corinchar, which is the 180-degree hairpin, as we look at the third place car, the Manfilter Mercedes.
It's got close again, you know, between Pierre Caffer in the Phoenix Audi and the Manfilter Mercedes of Martin Conrad. I don't think Martin's going to try anything quite as audacious as we might have expected into Buccini corner, because he's not quite close enough. But the other side of this left-hand hairpin, the BMW of Nick Whitmer and ST Racing is about to cross the line to receive the checkered flag. You can hear the cheers in a moment or two, zigzagging from left to right. The BMW taking the ST with the win for ST Racing after they moved from the GT4 category and were champions in that in 2021 to a brand new division. They get an outright victory at the second time of asking, and Samantha Tan celebrating with her fellow driver Bryson Morris and the rest of the crew down there, all smiles as you would expect. There's Bryson, who receives a hug from Samantha Tan. Let's get straight to Diana Binks.
Thank you, Samantha. Bryson, what does that win mean to you today, the 12 hours of Mugello?
Oh, so much, especially for our little Canadian team. Thank you to everybody. BMW Motorsport, Motul, everybody on this team. Again, phenomenal job.
Superb work, Bryson. You were very much part of this effort this weekend. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm just very grateful for everyone here that supported me and let me join the race. You know, I'm pretty new to the team, so thanks to everyone at the team.
Great to see you. Great to see you both, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So congratulations to ST Racing. Also crossing the line during that interview, the winners in the TCE series, part of, or the TCE race as its separate entity. And remember that the 4 Thai drivers that have driven so superbly well throughout the course of their race to make it now 2 out of 2 wins in the 24H series. BBR victorious once again. Charia Nua, Kantandi and Kantasak Kusiri, and Tanart Satyanterakul, who brings the car to the end of the race. 3 laps clear of their nearest rivals, Noka Racing Team and the Lithuanian squad, car 104. Drivers are Antti Ramo, Jonas Karklis, Kestutis Dastionis and Sten Dorian Pirimaji. 3rd position in TCE going the way of Wolf Power Racing and the 116 crew of Jasmine Preissig, Ivars Valles and Marcus Menden. To complete the GT Series overall podium then, ST Racing we've dealt with. Congratulations once again for their first GT Series overall win. Phoenix Racing pushed so hard and had a code 60 to thank in the closing stages, but also good decision making on the pit wall for Elia Earhart, Michael Doppelmayr, Sven Herberger, and the star towards the end, Pierre Caffer, who had to do it on the track to overtake the 25 Mercedes of Martin Conrad, who brought the car to the finish, Bernd Schneider and Alexander Krakowina, and they will be the drivers very shortly that we will see on the podium, Joe Bradley. Quite a race.
It was, I think, in both GT and TCE, we saw what I would describe as pretty textbook runs. Certainly in the TCE with BBR, their drivers stayed out of as much trouble as they possibly could. I think I've only seen their car off the track once. All 4 drivers absolutely brilliant. Very little difference between their performance and abilities, and that proved to be the case. And a 3-lap victory in what is a very, very close category of racing, i.e. TCR, that just, I think, just stands out as one of the textbook runs of a 12-hour race. And likewise, ST Racing, I think what won them that race was that very quick thinking decision to keep Samantha Tan out and get her to drive through the pits when the fueling area was full, but also a little bit of luck came into it, and I think that's what put them in such a commanding position, was the fact that they were able to get into the pits under green when all around them were only able to pit under purple.
Here's Di again.
I'm with Nick. He's just jumped out of the car, taking his helmet off. So just give him a few seconds. He's just parked the car under the #1 GT overall winner for the 12 hours of Mugello. How does that sound?
It sounds just amazing. First win for us in GT3, our second event in a GT3 car. Can't say anything better about this BMW. It gave it all what we needed today and yesterday. It held up together, A1. We got the car. All what we wanted to do out there is do this, and the car gave us what we wanted.
How nervous did you feel in the last hour, or were you just quietly, a typical racing driver, helmet on, calm, do what I need to do?
Yeah, just had to do the job out there. We had a good lap or 2-lap lead, so just just take it home and stay off the curbing, stay out of trouble, and bring it right here where it belongs.
Well, a well-deserved result here today for yourself, for Sam and Bryson. Nick, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Nick Whitmer, thumbs up to the camera and thoroughly chuffed with some hard work at the start and end of each segment of the two segments of this year's MUGELLO 12 Hours. He's been given an awful lot of the responsibility. We're going to stay with Diana Binks, actually, because just the other side of Nick Whitmer's car, the winners in the TCE category.
They are indeed. Again, just taking helmets off. Tonight, you just jumped out of the car. Huge congratulations on that result today. But you seemed, all of you, the whole team, seemed incredibly calm throughout the whole weekend. But what does that result mean to you?
It's meant a lot because we worked really hard for this weekend. The team really give us the perfect car for the whole weekend. Also, they really spot on every pit stop, every tactic and everything was spot on. So for me as a driver, just to make sure the car finished the race today.
You did a fantastic job, but I have to say, you need to have a word with your teammates because they're hiding from me behind and they don't want to be interviewed. They said that you want to do everything.
Yeah, I think we swap next time, different persons, yeah.
But a great result for you and the team. As you say, everyone worked incredibly hard. It's not an easy circuit, this one, is it?
Yeah, it's my first time here, and it's taken me a few sessions to get used to the track, but in the end, we did it, So, very proud of this.
Well done. You should be proud. I'll let you celebrate with the team. Congratulations.
Well done, Tanart Satyanterakool, the man we were just hearing from, and together with his teammates that are busy hiding away and not wanting to be doorstepped by Diana Binks, Kantanti Kasiri, Kantasak Kasiri and Chiriara Nua to complete that quartet from Thailand. Here's confirmation of the GT Series result then. Provisional at the moment, it will become official very shortly. ST Racing from Canada, the little team from Canada, as Samantha Tam put it, taking victory with Bryson Morris and Nick Whitmer bringing that car home ahead of the 25-man filter Team Landgraf Mercedes that will win GT3 AM, Alexander Krakowina, Martin Conrad and Bernd Schneider, and Phoenix Racing finishing second in the GT3 Pro-Am division, third on the overall GT Series podium, Michael Doppelmayr, Pierre Caffer, Elliot Earhart and Sven Herberg. Then CP Racing just missing out on the podium, fourth with car 85. Now Mercedes. The 71 Jutta Racing car wins GT3 standard. MP Racing's GT3 car, the Mercedes, a relatively late pit stop, but hung on to 6th spot. Then the winners in the 992 Porsche Cup category. Red Camel Jordans.nl. The three breakers, father, son and son, Ivo, Luke and Rick, ahead of the Kessel Racing Ferrari of Switzerland, finishing 8th. 9th position, second in the 992 Porsche category, the HRT Performance crew of Johan Kristoffersen, Gustav Bergström and Ola Vibe. Then Red Ant Racing also on the podium and winners of the 992 AM class. Orchid Racing Team, the 917 finish 11th ahead of the second Red Ant Racing Porsche 904. 928, the NKPP entry was 13th. Car Collection Motorsports GT3 car 14th. Porsche Lorient 911 15th. And the HRT Performance duo of Kerong Lee and Jean-Francois Bruneau finishing in 16th position. The best of the 991 Gen Porsches was 17th, car 973 from Italian team Ebby Motors. It was the RD Signs Cholet Racing Team, number 720, finishing in 18th position. Then the 421 Team ACP Tangerine Associates by JJ Motorsport, 19th. Bodar by Baz Kooten Racing's Bentley Continental finished 20th ahead of the second Porsche Lorient Porsche. The Jutta Racing Junior squad, difficult run for them, 22nd. Vortex V8 winning the Spirit of the Race award. Their best car, 703, was 23rd, ahead of the second Gen 991 Gen Porsche from Ebby Motors. Orchid Racing Team's second car, winning the GT4 category. No, beg your pardon, finishing second in GT4. The winners in GT4 being Team ACP that I've already mentioned. Vortex V8 number 702, 26th. 27th was Santalok Racing ahead of Earl Bamber Motorsport, but Santalok and Earl Bamber retirements, remember. Herbert Motorsport likewise 29th. Vortex V8, the 701, did continue to the finish. JR Motorsport we lost with a gearbox problem and a crash yesterday for 955, the Villi Motorsport by Ebby Motors Porsche. TCE Series was won by the 4 Thai drivers and BBR number 159. They take victory by a clear margin, considering how close TCR normally is, ahead of the 104 Noka Racing team, a Lithuanian and Estonian combination for the drivers. Wolf Power Racing will finish third on the TCE Series podium, ahead of Holmgaard Motorsport number 102. The TCX category is won by 215 SK Racing with the Little Ligier JS2R from French and the all-French lineup. Hoffa Racing by Bonk Motorsport are also a category winner. Car number 332 wins TC. Valuga do not get to the finish because of their various difficulties. Car 205, but I'm sure they'll be back very soon. And the 331 Hoffa Racing by Bonk Motorsport, BMW, finished in 8th position. Quite an event here at the MUGELLO 12 Hours. And after a superb event, the 8th running of the 12 Hours of MUGELLO here in Tuscany, the scene is set for the podium presentations. Champagne bottles are ready to be presented. And Joe Bradley, our Master of Ceremonies, is very close indeed to the podium. The final decisions are being made. This is always the tentative area, Diana Binks, as to making it a provisional result into an official one. But I'm pleased to say quite a collection of drivers behind the podium ready to be called forward.
Yes, they look like they're ready. It is, by the time, of course, you get to the end, it just becomes manic. So the drivers need to get out of their car, have a second. They obviously want to have a chat with the team, celebrate, you know, the achievements from the weekend, and then collect themselves to go up onto the podium to get their champagne and their trophies, and to really enjoy the demands, the celebrations after the demands that they've had this weekend. Some great winners there, superb on track, superb racing between all of them, and such a mix of ability and experience and ages. There was just a complete and utter mix throughout the field, and it seems that many teams have really complemented that very well.
Yes, and it's all about, when you run in the Pro-Am and the Am divisions, actually getting that mixture just right. And, you know, there are drivers of the calibre of Pierre Caffer and Bernd Schneider, but it's those guys that can only do so much work. And in fact, they are reliant so much on the Am and the Pro-Am parts of their driver lineup. So the preparations continue with the podium, and we will be doing various trophy presentations for the individual classes, of course. Let's run you through 992, because a 992 Am crew did actually manage to get to the overall podium result. So we were always talking about that, Joe and I, throughout the course of the race. The 992 Am winners, Red Ant Racing, number 903, with Ayrton Red Ant, along with the rest of his family crew, being Bernd and Yannick. Very close to getting into the second place position, but in fact, the way that the overall leader crossed the line, missed out on it by a single lap. But it was 909, the Bruikers family, father and two sons, that won that event. From the 929, the two Swedish drivers, Johan Kristoffersson and his teammate in 929, Gustav Bergstrom, with Ollie Vibe finishing in second position. Third spot, as I say, for Red Ant Racing, just off the podium, Orchid Racing team, but they will make the 992 Am part of their podium, the separate one. And Red Ant Racing will feature twice, indeed, on the 992 and Podium. GTX was won by HRT Performance. Congratulations to the 728 duo. Remember, they had to move to a different car fairly late on in the piece, but it doesn't seem to have affected them too much, and they will get maximum points in the GTX category. Just falling short, RD Signs in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. That all Lithuanian lineup in the GTX car. And the next GTX car will have been the best of the Vortex machine. So Vortex, as well as getting the Spirit of the Race award, should get, yes, one car on the GTX podium, which is the 703 die.
When we gave the trophy to the Vortex team, a number of them don't speak English, so we had to wait till we could find the right opportunity, and they were so grateful. They told us that they've just worked so hard. You know, the last few days, they've just constantly been working. They haven't really stopped. So the whole crew and team were delighted and a bit surprised, actually, to receive it. They wondered what we were doing, but they loved it.
Well, I think that's the important thing is that, yes, we focus fully on the overall winners in each of the two races that happen as part of Creventic these days, but you cannot lose sight of all the competitors. You know, they've all paid their entry money. They're all desperately trying to get to the finish, first of all, and ideally somewhere in the top three. Class win is great, but Vortex, I mean, the crucial thing is progress is being made in that little French crew, and there's been a noticeable change in terms of their results, because they would turn up sometimes for a 24-hour race and only last 2 hours, and that would be the last we would see of them. But they now are regularly getting to the end of 12 and 24-hour races, and testament to that, you know, 3 cars cross the line, one of them making the podium, the GTX podium. And
the logistics of that whole operation as well is tough, isn't it? And you've got to have so many people, but the cars themselves, you know, the drivers tell us that they love driving them. They get a lot of satisfaction from driving those cars. And the team were just trying to do as the best they could do, but it really didn't stop in that garage. I thought it was bad enough running up and down the pit lane for the whole time, but you know, watching the team hard at work and running around, I mean, they really had it up. So, but you know, they'll have a sense of achievement, won't they, getting to the end and getting at least one car through.
The hashtag for a number of years for the 24H series is "This is endurance," mainly because of the racing, but also it's one heck of a bit of endurance to try and get the cars still running to the finish. And your man that you spoke to hand the trophy to, Joe's analogy was, it just looked like he'd been at the coalface for the last 3 days. And I think that's about right, because you know, the 3 cars, they don't often run as many as that. So spares will have been stretched, and personnel will have been at their very, very limit too, to try and get the cars. As soon as they appeared on pit road, you think, oh no, one's back again. We've got to turn it around once more.
But it just shows, doesn't it, the motorsport. People, you have to love motorsport to get involved. And it doesn't matter what job you're doing in motorsport. You have to love it because it tests you very much. The hours are, it's 24/7. You eat, sleep and breathe it. But if you love it, you get so much from it. You get a lot of satisfaction. You get these great experiences, all the highs and lows. You meet new people. Your whole world changes. Apart from the hard work, you have to be able to do that and cope with that, and that's fine. But it really is rewarding.
That's Diana Binks. Thank you so much for all your hard work over the last 2 days. And now it remains for me, Johnny Palmer, to get to Joe Bradley, because you've been waiting patiently, Joe. Here is the podium at the end of the 8th running of the MUGELLO 12 Hours.
Welcome to the podium, everybody. 2022 MUGELLO 12 Hours. We've got a great crowd under the podium. They're going to be presenting our trophies now, so let's get straight on with it. And first, the GT overall podium. In 3rd place, it's the Manfilter team, the Mercedes of Alexander Rakovina, Mon Conrad and Bernd Schneider. In 2nd place, the number 18 Phoenix Audi, Michael Doppelmayr, Pierre Kaffer, Elia Earhart and Sven Herberger. And the winners of the 2022 MUGELLO 12 Hours, SD Racing BMW number 1, Samantha Tan, Bryson Morris and Nick Whitmer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the winning team. Big round of applause for our winners, ladies and gentlemen. And now to present our trophies, please welcome to the podium Mr. Julio Rizzo of Hankook Tyres and Ole Doleman from the Crevendic Race Organisation. And first to third place, the man-filtered Mercedes team, Alexander Rakavina, Mon Conrad and Bernd Schneider. And second place trophies to the Phoenix Audi team of Michael Doppelmayr, Pierre Kaffer, Elia Earhart and Sven Herberger. And the winners, car number 1, ST Racing from Canada, Samantha Tan, Bryson Morris and Nick Whitmer.
They're coming off this way.
Okay, everybody, lift your trophies high in the air. Lift those trophies high for our PR shots. Lift your trophies high. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the GT 2022 Mugello 12 Hours. And now, the champagne! Congratulations, our drivers, for the GT overall podium. Our next presentation will be for the Touring Car Endurance Series. And this podium is going to be very, very wet by the end of these trophy presentations. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Fabulous scenes here as ever. 24 Series podium kicks off the Europeans Championship with the 12 Hours of Mugello for the GT categories. And next up, we've got our TCE podium, our Touring Car Endurance Series, coming next. So our overall TCE winners are also our TCR class winners. So please welcome to the podium. In third place is the number 116 Wolf Power team, Jasmine Preissig, Marcus Menden and Ivers Valles. In second place is the Noka Racing team, Kestis Stasionis, Sten Dorian Primaj, Jonas Karkilis and Antti Ramo. And winner of the Touring Car Endurance Series for the 12 Hours of Mugello, it's the BBR team, Chari Nuyak, Kandidi Kazuri, Kanazak Kazuri, and Tanar Sathya Therikal. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the winning team. Congratulations, everybody, and please welcome to present the trophies for TCE, Mr. Julio Rizzo of Hankook Tyres, and Mr. Gary Williams from Crevendic, the race organisers. So in third place is the Wolf Power team, Jasmine Preissig, Marcus Rendon and Ivers Valles, being presented with their third place trophies for TCE. and second place trophies to the Noka Racing Team, car 104 from Lithuania. Kęstutis Stasionis, Sten Dorian Primaji, Jonas Karkilis, and Antti Ramo. And the winning team, BBR, will be presented with their first place trophies. It's the number 159 BBR Seat of Taria Nuya Kandidi Kuziri, Kandazak Kuziri, and Tanart Sathian Kithirikal. Lift your trophies high in the air, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Also trophies for the TCR class. So 2 sets of trophies for the Touring Car Endurance Series overall, and also for the TCR class win. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, and you've got a handful of trophies. I'm going to ask you to raise those trophies high in the air. Our TCE podium overall and TCR classes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the champagne! So that's our 2 overall podiums for GT and TCE. Goodbye from MUGELLO to our TV audience. We will see you next time. Spa in Belgium is where we're going next. See you all there. Don't go, you lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue our podium presentation. Our next podium is for our GT3 Pro-Am GT3 cars. Very slippery up here. Please welcome to the podium in third place in GT3 Pro-Am. It's car 72, the Junior Racing Junior team, Andreas Davikas, Arumas Jablonski, and Ignis Gelson.